The first week of the pilot program to resume face-to-face schooling has reportedly been successful. Minister of Education, Youth and Information Favour Williams gave an update in Parliament on Tuesday.
The pilot was launched to evaluate the possibility of students going back to classrooms despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Education Minister Favour Williams says only 11 grade students were allowed to attend the participating high schools, while participating primary schools allowed students from across the board. Observers reported a low attendance in primary schools.
One such primary school that has a student population of 128 was reported to have 8 students last Thursday and 28 on Wednesday. Attendance may have been affected by the rain, as it rained throughout the day. Additionally, over the period, 1,115 students were noted to be in attendance, with 52% of that number representing boys and 48% representing girls. I believe that this was a one-day tally of students.
Observers also reported on entry management.
The overall management of the entry process was deemed to have been satisfactorily managed by the schools in keeping with protocols for preventing transmission of COVID-19. The entry points were reported as adequately staffed and efficiently operated. Students were observed in queues that were adequately spaced at the entry point and wearing their masks to cover both nose and mouth. In those schools with low turnout, there was no need for queuing up, as the few students who turned up came in at different times. In one school, screening activities were moved onto the compound because of the rain. However, it was done in a sheltered, open location before students were permitted to move into the classroom. It is noted as a matter of concern in 2 schools that the infrared thermometer was being pointed towards the forehead of children. Other schools were observed to have efficient use of the thermometer. The time elapsed between arrival and entry was commended in 14 of the schools by the observers who shared their satisfaction in this regards. With regards to mask wearing, 5 of 14 schools had students turning up without masks. An appropriate response was given as students were issued masks, and screening and entry process was subsequently observed. But I want to ask parents to come on board with us and ensure that the students leave home with a mask.
Minister Williams says management during classes was also deemed satisfactory.
Sanitization was done upon entry and re-entry in the classroom spaces, and more specifically on return trips from the restroom.
The Education Minister says COVID-19 guidelines were also up to standard during breaks.
The methods used varied from staggered break and lunch sessions at the concessionaire shop or canteen to students being served in their classroom space.
The weakest area observed was schools' management of emergencies.
However, no management protocols were outlined for the isolation room in 6 schools, and observers in 1 school highlighted that the protocols outlined in that particular school was dissatisfying. The ministry has already taken steps to engage the Ministry of Health and Wellness on this score.
The Education Minister says a more comprehensive update will be provided at the end of the pilot on November 20. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom.